Page here, and this week I'll be reviewing set number 60069. This set costs £80, and it's called Swamp Police Station. Here's the first side build of the set, and the first side build of the set is a small little landmass. Now I really do quite like this build because it has quite a few nice little details, considering how small it is. I mean, there's this really nice sort of built up piece here, and it's quite nice how there's dark green to sort of break up the regular green. And I also really like the sort of curved shape here, going into the straight shape, and it almost creates a little L, so that's quite nice. And you could easily attach this to the main police station, which I guess is the intention, although you could also use it aside, because it does look quite nice by itself as well. And there are these little plants here, and that's quite a nice feature. And the nice thing about those is they are glow in the dark, so you can switch the light off, and then you can see them glow. I mean, they don't glow particularly well, but you know, if you cover them up or something, or perhaps build around them, then they do glow quite well. Although you do have to leave the light on for quite a while, so that's somewhat unfortunate, but it's quite a nice feature nonetheless. And there's also a sort of nice little feature where there's hidden money. I guess the criminals have sort of dug a sort of hole to hide the money in, and that's what this is here. So you can tip the money out, and you can also put it back in, of course, and you can swivel this round, and that's quite a nice little feature. It works really well. And I guess the criminals could come back for the money if they wanted to, although maybe someone else would have taken it by then, who knows. But there's also a really nice detail here, and that looks really nice. I mean, it's sort of fiddly to get the chain around the tyre, but once you do, you can just put it on this round piece, and it looks really nice. And it also works so that the boats don't crash into land. So basically, they'd be going along, they'd almost crash, but then they bounce off the tyre and go along their way. So overall, this is a very nice and effective side build. Second side build of the set, and the second side build of the set is a little red boat for the crooks. Now I do quite like how there's a sort of layered structure to this. For such a small thing, that's quite a nice inclusion and looks really nice. And there's also a really nice big engine at the back, and that's quite a big engine for such a small boat, but it does look quite cool, if a bit oversized. But there are these sort of exhausts out here, there's the main engine bit here, and at the back there's a propeller, so I guess it might be a small little hovercraft, so that's quite a cool feature in the back. There's also these two control levers, and there's a sort of seating area for one minifig, and there's seating down here for a second. There's also a bag to store some stolen money in, so that's quite a nice little detail there. There's also some clips along here with some accessories. At the moment I've put an axe and a sort of crowbar piece there, but you can put any sort of standard minifig accessories that will fit into a clip in there, so that's quite cool. There's also a little light at the front to show that I guess the swamp is sort of murky, so they have to light the way, so that's quite a nice detail as well. So overall, this little boat is very simple with some very nice and effective features which look really nice, and it has lots of nice little details. Third side build of the set, and the third side build of the set is a medium-sized Jeep for the Swamp Police. Now I do quite like the look of this thing. I especially like the open top, so that's quite unique. And you can have a minifig sort of standing up and peering out, so that's quite a nice feature. I mean, you probably wouldn't want the driver doing that since they'd probably crash, but you know, you could have the passenger looking out like it's a safari vehicle. I mean, it's not, but you know, they could use that to look out for criminals. Even though this minifig's a criminal, but you know, if it were a police in there, which it usually would be, then the police could use the open top to look out for criminals. Or hey, the criminals could steal this and use it to look out for the cops. Either way, it works really well, and it's a really nice detail there. And I also really like the sort of short fenders here, which makes the wheels look even bigger than they actually are. And that's a really nice sort of detail there. And it creates a really nice sort of bulky look to this thing, and it makes it look really powerful and big. And there's also a really nice sort of front bit for this. It says 03, and unfortunately that's a sticker, but it's still quite nice how it says 03 and police. And I also really like this shaping here, so it sort of goes down, then up, then down. That's quite nice, and a very nice sort of shaping and moulding of the pieces, I guess, or moulding of them together into this build. And there's also some very nice details here with the grills and the two lights, and then these four lights up here. So I guess this thing is highly visible in the dark, which is very good for a police vehicle, I think. And unfortunately you can see the sort of inside builds of the thing, which have white and yellow. Admittedly, the white sort of matches the colour scheme anyway, and the yellow is no big deal, since it does match the seats. Now the seats do look quite nice. I mean, they're very simple, but there's a little gap in between them. You can fit 2 minifigs or even perhaps 4 minifigs inside. You could also store some accessories or even the dog included in the set. Back here, I sort of wish there was a jumper space for the dog, but if you're putting accessories in there, I get why there isn't. But the dog stays in there pretty well as well, so you could put him in there. And there's sort of a little ramp which goes down to the ground. So this could almost be used as a canine transport vehicle. Now there are some clips on the sides for some accessories. There's also a light bar on top. I really do like the blue sort of front windscreen. That looks really nice. Overall, this has a lot of space. It's very big, very bulky, and a really nice medium-sized Jeep. So here's the main build of the set, and the main build of the set is the Swamp Police Station. I have to say I really like how massive this thing is. And there are lots of sections and lots of really nice details, and there's lots of space to put minifigs and vehicles. First of all, there's this really nice depot area for the Jeep included in the set. Now most LEGO City police stations don't really have space for the vehicles, so this one's sort of unique in the fact that it does have space for the vehicles, or at least most of them. I'd say I really like that, and that's a really nice thoughtful thing that the LEGO group has done. Now you do have to drive it in backwards, but you can get it in pretty nicely, and you can even put like a few minifigs around the side, like sort of here, and perhaps one sort of here. You know, you can put many minifigs around this, perhaps like 10 in total, so that's quite a few to fit in, even with the Jeep still in there. And I really like this feature, and there's also sort of along the side, there's some tyres. So there you can put in the Swamp Police boat included in the set, so that's quite nice. And the tyres, I guess, help it to go in, and that's quite a nice little detail there. And also along the side there are these plants. And up top there is a nice Swamp Police sticker. There's also these nice stickers for General LEGO City Police on the doors and the windows. I'd say I quite like the overall display of this with all these windows so you can see inside. And it creates quite a bright sort of atmosphere for this Swamp Police Station. I also like the barriers along the side and this sort of panel detail here. There's also some accessories right here. There's a helmet, there's a walkie-talkie, and 2 pairs of handcuffs. There are also these windows which create some nice texture. And overall, this sort of section of the Swamp Police Station looks really nice and really well detailed. And I really appreciate the space for the big Jeep. The next section of this Swamp Police Station is a bridge area. Now, this bridge area sort of starts off over here, so a minifig would be walking along, and then they get to the bridge. Now, the bridge is very well detailed. I mean, there's this really nice light, which sort of lights up the area below, or the area above, and that's quite a nice sort of little hinged light right there. And there's also another one of the Swamp Police logo stickers, and there's a nice little bit of panel detailing, which I mentioned earlier. And that's very nice to see that continue all throughout the build. And that's definitely quite a nice sort of little bit of detail. And there's also these windows for texture. And there are these barriers sort of to keep the minifigs from falling off, like this. So that's quite nice how that's there for a little bit of realism. And minifigs can't really get through this, but considering how well detailed it is, I'm okay that minifigs can't really get through it. I might sort of wish they were a bit thicker, but then that would have meant that the set would have had to include a few more pieces. That would mean it would have been more pricey. And it's already a very expensive set for what it is, so I sort of get why the LEGO group didn't make this bigger. Perhaps they could have got rid of something else, but then there would have been less things in a set, so that wouldn't have been particularly good. But anyway, there's also a big antenna right here, so I guess the Swamp Police can get Wi-Fi or something. So that's quite nice. It's very well articulated. Unfortunately, it's very fragile, but it does look really nice and articulates really well. And overall, this section of the Swamp Police Station looks good, but doesn't work very well, apart from the antenna. That's really good and works well. Here's the final section of the Swamp Police Station, and this final section is a really nice sort of prison cell. I mean, it's very simple, but it does have a very few sort of nice features, and I'll get to those in a minute. But first of all, the design of it. Now, I do really like this sort of panel detail here, and I pointed out previously with the previous 2 sections, but it's nice how it continues around. There are these sort of barred windows here which match a prison cell in real life, and there's also a door which can open to the interior, which I'll get to in a minute, and there's also these tyres which look really nice and work really well to sort of guide any sort of boat into the dock area. So that's quite nice, and quite a nice little detail there. And these are very fiddly to sort of tie around the tyres, but once you get them tied around, they look really nice and really realistic, which is really cool. And there's also a bit of swamp water down here, And there's lots of space for minifigs along here, there's some steps up here, and there's a light which can articulate, and that matches the light along there. And there's also a little feature where you can open up the top. Now you can use that two ways. Now one way is that the criminal would have a crowbar in there, hidden, and then he would sort of use that to keep it open. Now that doesn't work particularly well, but what does work well, or at least to keep it open, is this. Now basically what you do here is you'd have the criminals drive up in their boat, or sort of float up in their boat I guess, and sort of try to slingshot the hook onto here. Now it doesn't work particularly well, but once you get it hooked on, it does work well, and you can open up this and sort of drive away. And I think you can perhaps pull away the wall if you try to do it very carefully. So yeah, overall this is a very simple yet very nice and very well detailed prison cell. So here's the interior of the Swamp Police prison cell. Now this is a very simple interior, but it's a very nice interior, and it has all that you'd need for a prison cell. I mean, there's a bunk bed, although in this case it's not actually a bunk bed, it's a single-decker bed. But with that you can sort of hide a crowbar underneath there. I mean, you can't hide it that well since there's not that much space. I sort of wish it had a swivel feature like the side build in this set, so it could go like this and you can have a crowbar under there. But that's no big deal since there are multiple ways to break the criminal out. And on the side of the wall there's a very nice sticker which shows lots of detail. I mean, he's been playing noughts and crosses with another criminal. He's been counting down the days since he got put in there. So there's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 days which he's been in there. And maybe that's weeks though, so it could be a very long time, could be a very short time, who knows. But there's also a picture of who I assume his girlfriend. Now I'm just assuming that since who else would you have a poster of in his room, right? I mean, you know, that just makes sense, but it could be a poster of anyone, but it's a very nice sticker nonetheless. And there's also a sink and a toilet. So yeah, a very simple yet very effective prison cell build of the interior. So here's the main interior area of the Swamp Police station. Now this is a very simple yet effective interior. Now one thing which I really don't like about the whole of this Swamp Police sort of building, which is the opening at the back. Now I get why that's there, but it still sort of bugs me. I mean, you know, why do they have to have a big open space at the back? Why couldn't they just put in a few hinges and then have it hinge open? I mean, it's no big deal since the interior detail, other than that, is very nice. I mean, there's a little window here which can open up to let some air in. There's a fan which is spinning around and can rotate around like this in various different ways. And there's also a computer screen with a keyboard and a coffee mug. There's also a desk and a chair. There's also a coffee maker, which is quite a nice little detail. And the computer screen has a little Easter egg for LEGO fans. And that shows the Brickfoot or Yeti. I assume it's Brickfoot since it's in a forest, but it could be the Yeti. But it's one of the collectible minifigs anyway. And that's quite a nice little detail. And it says wanted, so I assume the police are hunting for him. And I'm going to guess that it's Brickfoot, which is the LEGO equivalent of Bigfoot. I think that came out in series 14, I think? Don't quote me on that though, because I don't know exactly. I'd probably have to look it up to find out exactly, but it came in one of the more recent series. So that's quite a nice little detail there, and sort of an Easter egg to long-time LEGO fans. So that's quite nice, and the desk build itself is very simple yet very nice. And there's lots of very nice little details in this room. I mean, it's not too much, but there's not, like, not enough. So yeah, overall it's a very nice little police room.